It's funny how a quiet drive through a dusty little town in rural Oklahoma can turn into the wildest story you've ever heard. One minute you're just passing through on your way to a low-key meeting, and the next, you're tied to a post in the middle of the town square, with folks laughing like it's the biggest joke since that time the mayor's cow wandered into church. But let me back up a bit, because this isn't just some tall tale. It's about this young woman, let's call her Victoria Kane, barely pushing 27, who looked like she could have been anyone's kid's sister. Plain jeans, a faded jacket, hair tied back in a no-fuss ponytail, but oh man, the storm she was about to unleash on that smug little place called Willow Creek. See, Victoria was rolling through at sunset, her truck kicking up gravel on the main drag, when these two local cops screech up, lights flashing like they're busting a drug ring, and before she can even say evening, they're yanking her out, slapping on cuffs, all because she didn't look right. That small-town paranoia where anyone not born there must be trouble, especially if they're young and don't fit the mold of the good old boys club running the show. They haul her into the station, this dingy brick building smelling like old coffee and regret, and the desk sergeant, a grizzled guy named Hank with a beer gut and a chip on his shoulder from years of small-time power, starts rifling through her bag like it's his Christmas present, pulling out this worn leather wallet with her ID inside. "What's this crap?" he snarls, holding up the card that says Colonel Victoria Kane, U.S. Special Forces. And the other cops, there's this cocky young one, Tommy, fresh out of the academy and eager to prove he's tough, burst out laughing. "Colonel? At your age? Honey, you must have got that from a cereal box. Ain't no way a girl's leading troops. What? You watch too many action flicks." Victoria just sits there, wrists chafing against the metal, her eyes steady on a crack in the wall like she's counting the seconds, not saying much because why waste breath on folks who've already decided you're a fraud deep down. She's thinking about her dad, the old general who drilled into her since she was knee-high that real strength doesn't yell, it waits. But these guys, they're fueled by that toxic mix of boredom and ego, the kind where the sheriff's office has been shaking down outsiders for years to fund their little empire. Rumors of kickbacks from local businesses, nothing proven, but enough to make them jumpy about anyone who might sniff around. The mockery ramps up quick. Tommy mimics a salute. "Yes, ma'am. Colonel cosplay. What's your orders? Invade the donut shop?" And Hank tosses her photo, this old snapshot of her as a teen standing proud next to her dad in full dress blues, right onto the floor like trash. Victoria's fingers twitched just a hair, but her face? Stone cold, like she's already miles ahead, hearing echoes of boot camp taunts from recruits who doubted her because she was the youngest, the smallest, but she'd climbed the ranks through sheer grit, leading ops that saved lives while these clowns were writing parking tickets. Word spreads fast in Willow Creek. It's the kind of place where everyone's related or owes someone a favor, and soon a crowd's gathering outside. Folks like the nosy diner owner, Mabel, with her apron still on, whispering. She looks lost, probably running from something, while else claims she's hot stuff. They decide to make a spectacle, dragging Victoria out to the square where this weathered wooden post stands from some old frontier days, tying her up with rough rope that bites into her skin. The sheriff, big-bellied Earl, who's been lording over the town since forever, protecting his shady land, deals with the HOA crowd strutting up, baton twirling. "Tell us about your big bad army, kid, we waiting." The crowd eats it up, phones out recording, a trucker named Joe hollering, "Where's your parade, sweetheart?" while his buddy chucks an empty soda can at her feet, all because deep down, they're scared of change. Of outsiders who might expose how the town's elite Earl and his cronies have been manipulating property taxes, pushing folks out for their gain. And Victoria? She just happened to roll in at the wrong time, looking too capable, too out of place. Victoria doesn't flinch, doesn't beg. She locks eyes with a kid in the back, this wide-eyed boy named Timmy who's peeking through the legs of adults, spotting the real insignia on her jacket from a book he'd read about military heroes, muttering, "That looks legit," but the grown-ups shove him quiet. "Shut it, boy. No way." She's just stirring trouble. She leans her head back against the post, whispers low enough for the wind to carry. "You've got about 5 minutes to rethink this," and Earl laughs hardest, his gut shaking. "Call him in then. We're all ears. Make my day." But inside, Victoria's mind is racing, not with fear, but that quiet fury from years of being underestimated. From missions where brass doubted her youth, but she delivered anyway, her heart pounding steady like a war drum she knows is coming. The air thickens, folks jeering louder to drown their own unease. Mabel calls out with that fake pity. Poor thing, living in her head-shoulder, stayed home baking cookies, and Joe adds, mopping his brow. Bet she's waiting for her imaginary boyfriend to save her. The crowd roaring, but a few faces falter, like they sense the shift, the way the evening breeze picks up, carrying a distant rumble. Then it hits like thunder cracking the sky. The ground shakes under heavy tires. And here come the Humvees rolling in, lights piercing the dusk, followed by rows of soldiers in crisp fatigues, boots hitting pavement in perfect sync, their rifles at ready like a wall of iron certainty. The laughter dies fast, phones dropping, Earl's baton clattering as his knees wobble. What the? And Tommy backs up pale as a ghost, stammering. This ain't real, can't be. But it is. A grizzled major hops out of the lead vehicle, snaps a salute sharp as a knife. Colonel Kane, your unit's here, full strength, awaiting orders. And the troops hundreds strong thunder back in unison. Yes, ma'am. Victoria, still tied, opens her eyes slow, that fierce glint saying it all, no gloating, just truth hitting like a freight train. She nods once, voice calm as a still lake. Arrest the officer's corruption charges, the works, and the soldiers move like clockwork, cuffing Earl who drops to his knees blubbering. We didn't know, please, it was a mistake. His empire crumbling because turns out Victoria wasn't just passing through. She'd been tipped off about the town's dirty dealings, her quiet meeting part of a bigger sting on local graft tied to federal lands. The crowd scatters some, but most freeze, shame washing over like cold rain. Mabel clutches her apron, whispering to no one, I shouldn't have. Oh God. Her earlier words biting back as she thinks of her own daughter, dismissed in similar ways. Joe stares at his feet, the soda can mocking him now, his trucking routes suddenly under scrutiny for hauling shady cargo for Earl's crew. Timmy, though, pushes forward, eyes shining. I knew it, and Victoria spares him a soft look, like passing the torch. She gets cut loose, rubs her wrists, takes a sidearm from the major with that deliberate grace, raises her hand and the unit roars salute, shaking the square to its bones. As they load up the cops, Victoria sweeps her gaze over the townsfolk, voice steady. It's not about age or looks, it's about what you stand for, and what backs you up. Then she climbs into a jeep, convoy rumbling out into the night, leaving Willow Creek forever changed, the post standing scarred as a reminder. But here's where it gets tricky. You noted they deserve it all? The fallout hit hard. Earl fired, his land scams exposed, facing jail, Tommy a laughingstock online, his career toast, Mabel's diner boycotted, folks whispering about her cruelty. Even Joe lost contracts, kicking gravel alone. The town quieted, judgments softened, stories spreading like wildfire about Victoria's rise from overlooked recruit to colonel through ops that toppled bigger crooks. But was her silence, her waiting game, a bit too cold? Could she have spoken up sooner? Or was the lesson worth the humiliation? Makes you think about power, right when to wield it, when to hold back. Anyway, if this hits home, drop a like, subscribe for more real-life twists, and tell me in the comments, have you ever been underestimated like that? Was the payback sweet, or did it leave a bitter taste? Share your story. Let's talk about what justice really looks like in these small-town messes.